Good evening and welcome to Gladstone's Planning Commission regular meeting on Tuesday, March 18th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Volbada.
Yes.
Commissioner Weiss.
Present.
Commissioner Langston.
Present.
Commissioner Carlson.
Present.
Commissioner Pat Smith. Commissioner Brennan.
Here.
Chair Smith.
Present. Flag salute, please. Would everyone stand? Again, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The City of Gladstone is abiding by guidelines set forth in House Bill 2560, which requires the governing body of the public body to extent reasonably possible to make all meetings accessible remotely through technological means and provide opportunity for members of the general public to remotely submit oral and written testimony during meetings to extent in-person, oral, and written testimony is allowed. Therefore, this meeting will be open to the public both in person and virtually using the Zoom platform. If members of the public would like to comment on an agenda item, either virtually or in person, please email your comments to bannock@ci.gladstone.or.us prior to 12 p.m. noon on March 18, 2025. Individuals attending in person may submit a speaker card to the city recorder prior to the beginning of the meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. The Planning Commission will also have business from the audience at the end of the meeting. To speak during this time, either virtually or in person, please email bannock@ci.gladstone.or.us prior to 12 p.m. noon on March 18th with your name, topic of discussion, and city of residence. Individuals attending in person may submit a speaker card to the city recorder prior to the beginning of the meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Our consent agenda. All items listed below are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a commission member or person in the audience requests specific items be removed from the consent agenda for discussion prior to the time the commission votes on the motion to adopt the consent agenda. Our meeting, item number 1, approval of February 18th, 2025 meeting minutes. Item number 2, monthly planning report for February 2025. Item number 3, continued public hearing file TXT-25-01, floodplain code updates to allow the city to comply with the regulations of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, allowing property owners, businesses, and renters to be eligible for the National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP. Item number 4, public hearing file DR-25-02, design review. Construct an 18-space paid vehicle parking lot for use by Gladstone's Eat, Drink, Sports at 220 Portland Avenue. Alan Sanchez, owner, and AKS Engineering and Forestry, LLC, applicant. Okay, ready? Let's go with item number 1. Do I have a motion for approving the meeting minutes?
I will motion to approve the consent agenda, including the February 18th meeting minutes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Weiss and seconded by Commissioner Volbada. Roll call, vote please.
Commissioner Brennan.
Yes.
Commissioner Carlson.
Yes.
Commissioner Langston.
Yes.
Commissioner Weiss.
Yes.
Commissioner Volbada.
Yes.
Chair Smith.
Yes, meeting minutes approved. Okay, item number 2, monthly planning report. Staff?
Thank you, Chair Smith. Nothing out of the ordinary with the monthly planning report. We were pretty on track with our customer service contacts. We were a little low on building permit reviews for both of the first 2 months this year. That was a little bit slower. Excuse me. We did help with a code compliance review. There were some lights on the Genuine Motors business on McLaughlin Boulevard that got switched out and were brighter than what was approved with the photometric plan. So we did assist the code compliance officer with those issues and making sure that that came into compliance. And the last I heard, that had been brought into compliance. The city council did not have any hearings related to land use last month, and we didn't have any pre-application conferences. Looking forward to next month, we will have the town center here for you to make a recommendation to city council. So that'll be a good sized packet for you as well. We don't have any private development that's been submitted yet, so I wouldn't anticipate any private development in addition to that. We'll just focus on the town center at the April meeting. Any questions?
On the code compliance, do you guys go and take actual measurements, or are you just doing calculations based on the bulb?
There were no actual measurements taken. The community, I think she's called the community services officer, went out and took pictures and documented the difference in the brightness of the lights.
Yeah.
And the applicant or the property owner was fully aware that they were too bright.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions, commissioners?
What do the majority of the customer contacts and emails that you respond to entail?
Oh, that's a great question. Gosh, it really runs the gamut. I want to put a shed on my property. I'm wondering how, if I can build an ADU, what's happening over on my neighbor's property. Tons of questions just about anything to do with people's property development. And then, you know, as people come into City Hall, if it's a question that I might be able to help with, City Hall staff will send them my way. I coordinate with Public Works a lot on anything going on, utilities and things like that. Yeah, I would say in a given day, I probably have 8 to 12 emails or phone calls with people, more like 8 emails and 4 phone calls kind of thing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's a great question.
Any other questions? Okay, let's move on to item number 3, please. It's continued public hearing. And I'd like to open the public hearing at 6:44, I think. The public hearing is called to order. The proposed amendments would provide the conduct of the hearing. The order of business we will follow in conducting this hearing will be A, presentation of staff report, B, entry of correspondence into the report, C, public testimony, D, additional staff comments, E, questions from the commission, F, hearing closed, no further testimony from the audience, and G, discussion of commission and decision. Okay. Testimony. Any interested person may present testimony concerning the proposed amendments. The public hearing is what you have to say and what you want to give your point of view. Help us to understand why you have drawn your conclusion and how it relates to the proposal. Public testimony for this hearing will be called for in 3 groups. Testimony in favor of the proposal, testimony opposed to the proposal, and neutral testimony. If you wish to speak, please fill out one of the testimony forms and submit to the city recorder. I will recognize those persons wishing to speak, and any questions should be addressed through me. When you testify, please state your name and address for the record, as this hearing will be taped. If you are participating online, click the raise your hand button at the appropriate time and wait to be recognized. If you are participating via telephone, dial *9 to raise your hand at the appropriate time and wait to be recognized. Abstentions and conflicts of interest. At this time, I would like to ask members of the commission if they are abstaining from this matter or need to declare any conflicts of interest. Please indicate the nature of the conflict of interest and indicate whether you intend to participate in or abstain from the hearing. Commissioners, Commissioner Jennifer,
I will be participating. I have no ex parte contact. I'm very familiar with the area. No financial interest.
Commissioner Weiss,
No conflict of interest and I plan to participate.
Commissioner Langston,
No conflicts of interest and I will participate.
No conflict of interest and I will participate.
okay, great.
No conflict of interest and I look forward to participating.
I have no conflict of interest and I will be participating. So, city staff, will you now present your report?
Yes, we do have a slideshow here, so.
Okay.
Just a moment while we pull this up. Thank you, Tammy. So this evening's legislative hearing is on floodplain code language, so an update to our floodplain code standards when someone wants to develop within the floodplain. I'm going to say that a few times just so it's really clear. I've had a lot of phone calls about what is changing, and so I wanted to just make sure that nothing, that everyone knows there's no changes to your property unless you want to develop your property under the floodplain standards this evening. The map on your screen is what you would pull up if you went into FEMA's floodplain maps and typed in City of Gladstone. So the areas, and you can zoom into your property once you have an address, but just broadly, the areas that are hashed are the floodway. So that's the fast moving water. The areas in aqua are the 100-year floodplain, which is what we're talking about tonight primarily. And then the areas in kind of the tan color are the 200-year floodplain. So sort of advisory that those areas could see inundation, but are not regulated. So just a little background why we're updating our development code. There's so many acronyms in here, so I apologize for that. But in 2016, the National Marine Fisheries Service issued what they called a biological opinion, the BIOP, that the National Flood Insurance Program administered by FEMA is not in compliance with the Endangered Species Act for 16 ESA listed species, fish species, and the southern resident killer whales, which we don't have to deal with here, in parts of Oregon, including Gladstone. So as you can see, it's, all of the coast and then all of the northern part of the state are any community in these areas that participates in the National Flood Insurance Program does need to respond to these changes that have been made. So in order to continue participating in the National Flood Insurance Program, Gladstone and all the other cities that are in that area and counties in Oregon are required to update how they review floodplain development permits. So every jurisdiction was asked to choose one of 3 pathways by December 31st of last year. The first pathway is to say no more development in any floodplain of any kind. The second was to choose a model ordinance, which is to put language straight into the development code that complies with the BIOP. And the third was permit by permit, to just adopt a policy or a code provision that says we will look at each and every individual permit separately and have a process for that. The model language this evening, to me, is very much a hybrid of the model ordinance and the permit by permit, because we're still asking that you provide a habitat mitigation assessment, which is essentially what the permit is. So in my mind, these got a little muddled, but we at Gladstone gave notice that we'd be following the model ordinance. So that's what we are moving forward with. So the proposal before you this evening is an update to Chapter 17.29 of the Gladstone Municipal Code. It adds language to ensure that development actions in the floodplain that result in a loss to one or more key floodplain function, must be mitigated or avoided. The 3 key floodplain functions are, and the first is storage. So this is the actual area where the water and the fish can be during a flood event. So making sure water can flow and fish can swim or take refuge. The second is water quality. So pervious surfaces, you want to make sure water can absorb into the ground quickly to mitigate, further spread and velocity of those floodwaters. And the third is vegetation, trees to shade the floodwaters and provide bank stabilization to those lands so we don't see a lot of landslides and sloughing. The proposal I want to be clear that we already require floodplain development permits in the city of Gladstone. So the process is already in place. And actually, we already require things like no net fill. You can't increase the height of anything in a floodplain. You have to be balanced. We also already require tree mitigation if you're within our habitat conservation area. So we're already well on our way with the Gladstone code the way it is. But we did need to make a few adjustments to comply with the buyout. The new language will require one of the following: that a floodplain mitigation assessment be performed by a qualified professional. This is a fish biologist or wetland biologist with certain classification that's listed in our development code. A statement that you're subject to direct federal regulations. A statement that you've met a previously approved floodplain permit with habitat mitigation, or that you're exempt from the requirements. And there's a list of what's exempt that's really clear from in the code language. So just to be clear what areas of town we are talking about, I'm going to zoom into each of these two, but as a whole, Gladstone has frontage on the Willamette River and the Clackamas River. So there are areas, if you see green, that means it's publicly owned. So it's either city or county or, some other public agency that owns that. If it's orange, it's potentially redevelopable. So it's either vacant or the building that's on the property is valued less than the land. So we see quite a bit of that on the east side of town in industrial and residential zoning. And a little bit of vacant and redevelopable along Clackamas Boulevard. So let me just zoom in a little bit just to make that a little more clear. Again, most of the land along the Willamette is in publicly owned. I'm not sure why oh, I see. So if it's purple and dotted but gray underneath, it doesn't really have development potential. Although I will note that we've had a pre-application for the children's course to add a pole barn to their property. So it's not full development, but they would be subject to these standards. And we've been in conversation with them about that. And then again, on the east side, we have quite a bit of potentially redevelopable property. The proposed text amendment is consistent with the Oregon statewide planning goals, Gladstone Municipal Code, Metro's functional plan, and transportation planning rule. Those are all in your staff report this evening. And that has been submitted to DLCD. We published notice in the newspaper, and we sent direct notice to every property owner who has property within this floodplain area. As a requirement of the state to let people know that essentially that the zoning of your property may be changing or that what you can do on your property may be changing. So in this case, your type of permit review may be changing with development on your property. So we let everybody know about that. With that, the Gladstone planning staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend approval of the text amendment to the City Council for a public hearing at their meeting on April 8th of this year. I'm happy to answer questions. We also have our city attorney here, Ashley Dougal, so that if we have any technical questions, this language did come from Ashley's team. So if there are specific questions about the language, I'm going to defer.
Sure.
Commissioners, any questions? Okay. Have we received any correspondence on this matter other than those items included in the agenda materials?
I've had several phone conversations and emails about it. And I don't know if there might be people here tonight to speak about it.
Okay. Now is the time for public testimony. Does anyone wish to speak in support of the proposal? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition of the proposal? Does anyone wish to provide any testimony that is neither in support of or in opposition of the proposal? We don't have anyone online?
Nobody
Okay.
online, no.
Is there any further testimony or any further questions from the audience? Okay. Does staff have anything further to add which specifically addresses a question or issue raised during the testimony?
No, I do not.
Do any members of the commission have any questions regarding the testimony? If there are no further questions, I would entertain a motion to close the hearing to additional public testimony.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Langston made the motion to close the public hearing, and it was seconded by Commissioner Brennan. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Volbada,
Yes.
Commissioner Weiss,
Yes.
Commissioner Langston,
Yes.
Commissioner Carlson,
Yes.
Commissioner Brennan,
Yes.
Chair Smith.
Yes, public hearing has been closed at 6:50, and it's for file number TXT-25-01. Okay. Deliberation. Is there any deliberations, questions, comments from any of the commission members?
Seems pretty straightforward.
Okay,
Yeah, this was a fairly challenging read
Mhm.
to kind of get, cover to cover through, but
Agreed.
yeah, I thank you Scott, for compiling that report.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
thank you. Well, if none of the planning commissioners have any further questions or want to deliberate, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the suggested language for review, city council.
You need to read out the
Oh,
file number.
sorry.
That's okay.
Where'd it go?
It's for TXT-25-01 Comprehensive Plan Text Amendment.
TXT 2501 floodplain code update.
Great. Tammy, could we have a roll call vote,
I
please?
need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, and it was, the motion was made by Commissioner Langston and seconded by Commissioner Volbada. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Carlson,
Approve.
Commissioner Brennan,
Yes.
Commissioner Volbada,
Yes.
Commissioner Weiss,
Yes.
Commissioner Langston,
Yes.
Chair Smith.
Yes, motion passes. Okay. On to item number 4, public hearing for file DR-25-02, design review, construct an 18-space paved vehicle parking lot for use by Gladstone's Eat Drink Sports at 220 Portland Avenue. Alan Sanchez, owner, AKS Engineering and Forestry LLC, are the applicants. I'd like to open this public hearing now at 6:52. The public hearing is now open for the purpose of considering and I already stated the time, the procedure will follow tonight is planning department report, applicant testimony, proponent testimony, opponent testimony, applicant rebuttal, decision to continue or close the hearing, and the planning commission discussion and decision. Now, does any commission member wish to disqualify himself or herself for any personal or financial interest in this matter before us tonight? Or does any commission member wish to report any significant ex parte or pre-hearing contacts? Please indicate if you visited the site in connection with this application. I'll start with Commissioner Brennan.
Madam Chair, I have visited the site and I am familiar with it. I have had no ex parte contact and I do plan on participating in tonight's.
Commissioner Carlson.
I have had no ex parte contact and do plan on participating, and I have visited the site and I'm familiar with it.
Commissioner Langston.
No ex parte contact. I have no conflict of interest. I have been by the site and I plan on participating.
Commissioner Weiss.
I also plan to participate, have no ex parte contact, and have no financial interest and have visited the site.
Commissioner Volbada.
I have visited the site. Full disclosure, I have worked with AKS in the past with past careers, nothing particular to this site or this project. No financial interest, and I do plan on participating.
I have no ex parte or financial interest in this matter tonight. And I have visited the site numerous times. Does any member of the audience wish to challenge the right of any commission member to hear this matter? Okay, we have no one. Is there any member of the audience who wishes to question the jurisdiction of this body to act on behalf of the city council on this matter? Oregon land use laws require that all issues be raised if the issues are to be appealed. Failure to raise the issues at this hearing may invalidate their further appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals, LUBA. Any party has the right to request a continuance to this hearing, or in the alternative, to have the record left open for 7 days. Failure to raise constitutional or other issues relating to the proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow the commission to respond to the issue will preclude an action for damages in circuit court. If you are going to testify, please try to address the applicable criteria. Will the staff please present the report?
Yes, thank you, Chair Smith. We'll just pull up another slideshow really quickly. Right. All right, this evening's quasi judicial hearing is for a parking lot at 220 Portland Avenue, next door to Gladstone's Eat, Drink, Sports. The proposal is by owner Alan Sanchez with consultants AKS Engineering and Forestry to construct an 18-space parking lot that would support the next door restaurant. It would include ADA accessibility, landscaping, and proper drainage. The project site is zoned C2 community commercial within the city's downtown overlay district. The site's just under a 1/4 acre in size and is not subject to any environmental overlays. We did send out public notice and agency notice. We did receive back, some agency notice saying they didn't have any concerns. And then we received back notes from the Public Works Department that have been incorporated into the staff report. In addition to what the applicant's proposing for the site, we did have a few two recommended conditions of approval. Excuse me. The first is to revise the site plan and then, of course, ultimately construct a slightly wider landscape strip along the west property line. The standard is a 5-foot landscape strip, but there is the ability for the Planning Commission to approve through design review an exception of a 25% deviation from that standard, which did seem appropriate given this, that there's fencing along both sides. So we are recommending that the applicant meet the 3'9" along the western property line, which does exceed that 75% of the standard. And in addition, the applicant's proposing 1 tree along Arlington, whereas the standard was that trees should be spaced 25 feet on center on average. Excuse me. And so we do find that there's space on the site to plant up to 5 trees. The second recommended condition comes from the Public Works Department regarding development on the site. And it's mostly general, putting the site back to as it was found as far as the street and the sidewalks and making sure it's meeting ADA and ProWAG standards. But the portion that's highlighted there is that that space would be marked no parking. And that is because the traffic report showed that that would be needed for safety for entering and exit the site at the driveway. With that, we do recommend approval of the design review application with the standard conditions and the 2 special conditions of approval. And the applicant is here this evening.
Commissioners, any questions of staff or the report?
I do. You mentioned the 1 tree along Arlington and then showed, okay, never mind. You do show another tree along Arlington, but then 3 along Portland. I assume we're looking for at least 2 trees on either frontage?
I think 3 along Portland and 2 along Arlington because the spacing allows that.
Gotcha.
On the condition of approval recommended recommended by Public Works, is is there still room for one car there? So right
Yes.
now, as it is, there are 2 publicly available parking spaces on the street on Arlington. We would lose one of 2.
That's right. I measured out 20 feet still
Thank you.
available.
Thank
And
you.
it'd be very accessible because you'd be able to use that space to get into it.
I see the stormwater catch basin, so they won't be using any of our public utilities to catch that water.
I believe that's correct.
So no work in the road.
I believe that's true, but let's confirm with the applicant.
Commissioner Brennan, do you have any questions? Okay, Commissioner Carlson? All right, is the applicant or his or her representative present? Okay, do you wish to add anything to the staff report?
And they actually have a short presentation as well.
Okay. Please give your name and address for the record once you, and there's a button there you need to turn on. There we go.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Marie Holliday with AKS Engineering on behalf of the owner, Alan Sanchez and Gladstone's Corner LLC. For the record, my address is 12965 Southwest Herman Road, Suite 100, Tualatin, Oregon, 97062. And staff gave a thorough presentation, so I'll just stay brief tonight, and our team is available for any questions. But yeah, this application is generally just for a parking lot review for 18 spaces, including 3 compact spaces and an ADA space. There is an on-site sidewalk. If you go to the next
Yeah,
slide.
just let me know where you want it
Yeah,
to
this is
be.
perfect.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. The site plan also includes a 6-foot wide sidewalk that connects to the public right of way there. And then on the south end of the screen along Arlington Street, that's where the space marked no parking will go. And then there is still additional room for 1 on-street parking space. We do have some minor work in the right of way, and you're correct that the on-site stormwater is through catch basins. And so generally, the applicant agrees with the recommended approval of the staff report and as well as the recommended conditions of approval. And we're available for any questions that you might have this evening.
Commissioners, any questions?
How exactly do you plan to keep the general public from utilizing this parking space?
There will be yellow curbed marked along the south side of Arlington Street there, as well as a no parking freestanding pole sign.
Okay, so there won't be like, maybe no parking signs for people who aren't customers of the Gladstone's Eat Drink Sports.
I guess what he's asking is the intent that's lot will be for customers of the facility next door.
Oh, sure. The on-street parking will be available for the public. But yeah, the on-site parking area is for private parking just for the Gladstone.
So
area.
are you gonna have signage that says for customer parking for wherever?
There's none planned at this time, but if that becomes necessary in the future, that might be a potential solution.
Sure.
Any other questions?
You could also see there on the site plan, the green area there is shown as the landscape buffer, and we have updated the site plan to include 2 street trees along Arlington Street there, as well as 3 trees along Portland Avenue to meet that recommended condition of approval.
Do we have a list of acceptable plantings in our code?
I believe Clackamas County does, and
Yeah.
we would follow that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I have a question for staff real quick.
And we do as well have a street tree list.
Pre-construction meeting required for this site?
I believe it says that it's at the discretion of the Public Works Director. So if they determine that if Director Richardson decides that he needs that, then I think they would do that.
Okay, and that would include a traffic safety plan. I'm just thinking
Correct.
For Poor Day.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I'd say that was probably my question is when it comes to just thinking about the amount of the flow of traffic going in and out. There was a traffic safety plan and there's no issues that that were found?
Yes, and it was reviewed by Public Works and the city engineer and found acceptable, so it will be in place during construction.
Guys, just doing one lift on the asphalt or two?
What was that?
How many lifts on the asphalt are you guys planning?
We do have our civil engineer present this evening if,
Okay. I'm assuming it's
If that's
probably one.
necessary.
It's probably 4 inches.
yeah.
Yeah.
The applicant also recommended, one of the conditions of approval that Public Works accepted, that photo and video evidence of the right of way and streets will be taken prior to construction.
Okay.
And it'll be resurfaced in better or same condition as prior to construction.
Any other questions, commissioners? You don't have any questions for the civil engineer? No? Okay. So there's no further questions for the applicant, is that correct? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Now is the time for public testimony. Please approach the podium and state your name and address. We will hear testimony from proponents first, and then from people who support the application. Then we will hear testimony from opponents. Do we have any testimony, Tammy?
I have not received any speaker cards, and I do have one individual online that is raising their hand.
Okay, can we go ahead and hear from them?
It's Dwayne Caddy,
Hello, Dwayne Katie.
80, sorry.
No, it's all right.
Good evening, Mr. Katie. Can you please state your name and your address, please?
Yeah, name is Dwayne Katie. Last name is C-A-D-Y. And for reference, the address the building I'm speaking about is 291 Portland Avenue. And that is the building that sits directly across from Gladstone's, on the east side of Portland Avenue. So first of all, I'd like to thank Brian Grant and Jake Schaefer from Gladstone's. They've been very receptive to our concerns regarding the employees using our parking lot. They've controlled what they can control. And in our view, the situation, at least that situation, has been resolved. That being said, we still have a serious issue regarding restaurant customers using our lot. As an example, 2 Sundays ago, I came by to check on the building and found a lot full of cars. And every one of those cars had a restaurant clientele as ownership. Of more serious concern, there's been at least 2 verbal altercations between my tenants and people using our lot for restaurant parking. No parking signs have been posted, but they are not as effective as I had hoped. It seems that there are people who feel they can park anywhere they want, and there seems to be a small percentage. It's not just Gladstone, it's everywhere. Maybe it's just the times we live in, but they feel entitled. They can park anywhere they want to park their car, whether it be private property or not. We've, as I said, we've installed parking or no parking signs, but the next step for us, if it doesn't get resolved, is to have people towed at their own expense. And honestly, I don't think anybody wins in a scenario like this. And it would really take away from the downtown experience which you folks are trying to create. To find you come out of the restaurant, you find your car missing. So for those reasons, I enthusiastically and wholeheartedly support the idea of using the corner lot for parking. I think it would take a lot of pressure off of the surrounding businesses, and it would reduce the stress my tenants are feeling when they have to confront people who are not supposed to be there. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time, sir.
Right.
Do we have anyone else that wishes to testify?
I have no one online and I've received no other
Okay.
requests.
Um, Does the applicant have anything else further that they'd like to add?
Hi there, this is Marie Holiday again, representing Alan Sanchez and Gladstone's Corner. And the owner is well aware of the limited parking and shortage of parking here in downtown Gladstone. And this application is an opportunity to provide additional parking and hope to ease some of those interactions and use of offsite parking areas. So we appreciate your support this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. If there's no further testimony, I would entertain a motion to either close the public hearing or continue it to a date certain. What's the pleasure of the Planning Commission?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
A second.
Okay, the motion to close the public hearing was made by Commissioner Langston and seconded by Commissioner Volbada. Tammy, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Weiss,
Yes.
Commissioner Langston,
Yes.
Commissioner Carlson,
Yes.
Commissioner Brennan,
Yes.
Commissioner Volbada,
Yes.
Chair Smith.
Yes, the public hearing is closed at 7:12 PM. Okay, deliberations. Any questions?
Yep, no, the plan appears to be pretty much limited to their property on site. They're not cutting into the asphalt or anything, just right in front of their apron, big access the space. So it looks like they do plan on patching that back. I don't know if we'd want to do a half street improvement, but at that point, but because it's so minimal. So it looks pretty solid to me.
One kind of thought I had with this too, as I was looking at it, there's a significant amount of bicycle traffic going up and down Portland, where I was thinking this may actually help because people aren't pulling in and out of the street parking all the time. So that was just kind of something I just wanted to note.
This is a very nice plan too for, something that's just a parking lot. Very, very detailed. Well done.
Just a parking lot.
Has to be
I think
great.
my only concern is about a traffic safety plan for poor days. But I think that's more of an internal question.
Yes. Yep, that'll be something Public Works oversees.
Yep.
I have a little bit of heartburn about reducing one current street parking spot for private parking. I understand this is good for the neighborhood, but we have other economic development happening on Arlington, and they've, just lost access to one existing street spot.
Yeah, I guess I could understand that too with the street carts coming online. So they're taken away from them, but either way, to access that space, so they're at least handling their own volume.
Yep.
One thing, and maybe some of you can refresh my memory, at Gladstone's, is there a bike rack to park bikes? I'd never noticed that before. Thank
Sure,
you.
yes.
Okay. I don't usually ride my bike, so it's like I didn't even think about it. I would entertain a motion if anyone's ready to make a motion, unless there's additional questions or deliberations.
I'll make a motion to approve application DR-25-02 with the approved standard conditions and 2 special conditions.
I'll second.
The motion was made by Commissioner Langston and seconded by Commissioner Carlson. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Langston,
Yes.
Commissioner Carlson,
Yes.
Commissioner Brennan,
Yes.
Commissioner Volbada,
Yes.
Commissioner Weiss,
Abstain.
Chair Smith.
Yes. Motion passes. Okay. Do we have any business from the public this evening?
I've received no requests.
Okay. How about business from the planning commission? Jennifer?
Yes, just a quick reminder on our ethics training. I know you sent out a reminder, I appreciate that. And we also now have our SEC filing due by, I believe, early April. And then I don't know if we want to talk about it in this meeting or maybe a later meeting, but we discussed coming up with with somebody who can stand as co-chair in my stead when I am on maternity leave in a few months. Is that something we want to maybe
We can
think
talk
about and
we can talk about that. I'm hoping that Commissioner Langston will fill in.
Yep, that's not a problem.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Perfect.
Okay.
And that won't be until at least August and September, and I will be in communication if it has to go any longer than that.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Weiss,
No new business today.
Commissioner Langston,
I have no new business. Thank you.
Commissioner Brennan.
Nothing that pertains to land use, ma'am. No.
Okay. Commissioner Carlson.
No new business. Thank you.
I don't have any new business. I just want to, again, make comment of our code enforcement individual. She's just phenomenal. I see improvements all the time when I'm driving around our city. Yvonne does an outstanding job.
And we
Yeah,
have
she really
reviewed
does. And I can't thank her enough. She's places that have had issues for at a minimum of 10 years. She's got it turned around. I tip my hat to that lady. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, the motion was made by Commissioner Brennan and seconded by Commissioner Carlson. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Brennan,
Yes.
Commissioner Carlson,
Yes.
Commissioner Langston,
Yes.
Commissioner Weiss,
Yes.
Commissioner Volbada,
Yes.
Chair Smith.
Yes, meeting is adjourned at 7:13 PM.